Praise you, O Lord, with our whole hearts. We will show forth all your marvelous works, and we'll be glad and rejoice in you. We'll sing praise to your name, O Most High. We're going to talk about politics and boxing. Vladimir Klitschko once said, politics is comparable to boxing. The only thing that in politics, there are basically no rules. In boxing, you can get a black eye, but in politics, you can get poison in your food or a bullet in your head. It's definitely rougher and tougher than other sports. That's true. And if you think about it, we hear about people throwing political blows at one another. So there's a lot of commonality between politics and boxing, and there's a lot of politics in boxing. And some of the to me, some of the most elusive politics in boxing, the trickiest one, the less obvious, is the subliminals. They play to our emotions. And we're going to go into that right now. So, in the daily mailbag, people ask Stephen Bregman Edwards on BoxingScene.com. He's an editor there. They ask him some questions, and I constantly see the same baloney, to be honest with you. So one of the really stupidest questions out there came. Well, there were a bunch of them, but one of the stupidest ones had to do with Mike Tyson, and it was just very interesting listening to Bregman Edwards praise Mike Tyson like crazy, and he's just going on and on about Mike Tyson. And it's amazing because Mike Tyson got he got demolished by a number of fighters, some of them not even named fighters. Primarily, he got demolished by a fighter named Buster Douglas. Now, even though Buster Douglas wasn't a top tier fighter, okay, he was not. He had become a contender twice. He had been beaten a number of times, all right? But this is my point I've been making with people all along. When a fighter's up for a fight, when he's motivated for a fight, when he's mentally not going to be denied in a fight, when he's game like that, he up for it. Buster Douglas was not afraid of Mike Tyson. Buster Douglas was up for this fight in Mike Tyson in Tokyo, Japan. Buster Douglas went for the home run, right? When a fighter's up for a fight against another fighter, there's very little you can do to stop them, right? Marcos Maidana versus Floyd Mayweather, Jose Luis Castillo versus Floyd Mayweather. We got a bunch of them. We got a bunch of them on PBC. A number of challenges just up to recently, like we said, Luis Ortiz versus Christian Hammer, Erislandy Lara versus Brian Castano. Okay, so I mean we can just go on and on and on. Alfredo Angulo versus Erislandy Lara. I mean you can just go on and on and on with fights which people thought were going to be one-sided, and they turned out to be fantastic fights, and we got to be happy about that. And one of them was Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. Buster Douglas was up to face Mike Tyson. Buster Douglas was ready. All right. But even having said that, when you are a real champion, you don't take no opponent for granted. You take no opponent lightly. All right. When I tell you guys Floyd Mayweather's TBE, it's these aspects and attributes of Floyd that I find powerful. Because whereas Sugar Ray Leonard failed against Roberto Duran, Floyd Mayweather succeeded against Manny Pacquiao, against determined opponents who were supposed to give him hell, right? Whether it's Castillo, whether it's it was Maidana or whoever. Okay, there were a number of them that went at him, right? And to emphasize now on the politics of boxing. Now, there's all kinds of politics in boxing. You see the promotional companies war with each other. We see sometimes We see the sanctioning bodies trying to make their sway, right? We see politics played there. We see politics in the judging of fights sometimes. We see politics in boxing in the perception of certain fighters. You know, because the public's view, swaying public perception. And the most powerful way how this politics is carried out is through media. So media is sort of the conduit. The promoters sometimes see these negative thoughts about fighters, or sometimes the media companies like HBO, etc. When they had, you know, Jim Lampley would come out there and say negative things about black fighters. You know, this fight is boring, and so that would circulate like a rumor. When in fact that style of boxing is not boring. It's very intriguing. It's very exciting. It's the awesomest part. But just that the fans are not educated on that. Instead, these commenters berate these black fighters, or they berate the certain types of fighters who have skill. And then they would praise guys like Lomachenko. They would praise guys like Sergey Kovalev because they can box a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so you see the politics in boxing that way. I'm going to show you now some more of the politics of boxing, because there's a lot of things I want to say. But the first thing I want to say about that is, you know, a lot of times the emphasis in boxing, unfortunately, like all sports, is on the physical attributes of the athlete. So for some sad reason, most people do not see the cerebral side of every single sport, even team sports. American football, they don't see the cerebral side. They'll call plays, and they'll talk about this famous athlete who could run how many yards or whatever, but they don't really see the engineering of the play. Usually they attribute that to the coach, who is usually white. I'm just showing you guys something now, because you guys need to understand what I'm saying. You know, a lot of times in sports like sprinting, a lot of times people feel sprinting, you know, Usain Bolt, they laud the physical attributes, but they don't see the mental games that are being played before the athlete has to get off the starting blocks. You know, the jousting between athletes inside of the room to get an edge on one another, the mental wars, wars that they play with each other. So, you know, people mostly discuss the physical attributes. They laud and applaud the physical achievement of athletes, not understanding the mental discipline, and then of course the mental attitude these athletes have to have in a competitive sport where people are looking for an edge against one another, and sometimes it can be very hostile and cat-like. Okay, now having said that, let's go to boxing. A lot of times in boxing, the very same thing plays out that I just said, which is that people keep on looking at the physical attributes, and media plays on that. They play on that. And up to just very recently on ESPN, I believe it was Sports Center, or it was, I can't remember what it was. They had some basketballers on, and Max Kellerman was there. And these basketballers, I think Paul Pierce, and I think that guy from Chicago was there, or Detroit, I forgot what his name is, and another guy, right? And they were talking about the nicknames of athletes and what's the best nickname of boxers. And then they went on to talk about, you know, Sugar Ray Leonard, and this guy was talking about how Sugar Ray Leonard was his best and stuff. And you know, they start talking about, you know, physical attributes, you know, that Thomas the Hitman Hearns was, you know, 6'2", and you know, he was a freak at welterweight. And you know, up comes Floyd Mayweather's name out of nowhere. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. You think he could have beaten Thomas the Hitman Hearns? I'm like, y'all talking about Leonard and Hearns, right? Y'all, why don't you just stay with that? No, you pop out Floyd's name, and then they start berating Floyd. Oh, he would have never beaten Hearns and so. You know what I'm saying? So, but here's the thing: it's all based on physical attributes, right? They're all basing it on physical attributes. All right. So they were saying that Thomas the Hearns, he had a long jab, his powerful jab. He did. If he touch you, he spark you out and stuff. And they went on and on and on about that. And they could not see for the life of them that Floyd is a very intelligent boxer, and intelligence trumps all the physical attributes another fighter could have. And I already did a video on this, showing how Floyd could beat a guy like Thomas Hearns, because everybody keep on forgetting this. Thomas Hearns could dish it out, but he couldn't take it. Right? Everybody can't see that for the life of them. And the man was a twig. Right? The man was skinny. Right? He was powerful. He had power, but he wasn't strong. And there's a difference between power and strength. Right? I already did a video on that. So anyway, the point is, I'm looking at this and I'm saying the politics of it. If you say this umpteen times, and if a guy who has reputation in the business says, oh, this guy would have smoked Floyd Mayweather, right? Which was Emmanuel Stewart. He was like, Hearns would have smoked him, right? Everybody goes with that. Because it's an industry where people don't think for themselves. They just go with the politics, the common consensus of what people say. And you know I'm an independent thinker. I don't go with what everybody says. I actually think through it. So that's one of the dangers of the politics of boxing. And most of the politics of boxing has to do with physical attributes of fighters. Nobody's focusing on the fact that boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. When I say certain fighters are bad boys, when I say certain fighters are bad mother effers, right? I am talking about mental, man. Mentally, these guys are beasts. You know, we say 800-pound gorilla. That was Floyd. Because not only was he physically in shape, and he looked like a little Holyfield or a little Jack Johnson, you know, but he also used to try to get every inch of the mental edge over his opponent. And mentally, he was a beast. He was strong because his preparation to get into a fight, he would deal with dudes better than the guy he was about to face. He was carrying himself through hell before he faced his opponent. Andre Ward is a beast. All right? That's a bad mother effer. All right? He bad. Because mentally, this dude was never in a mindset of losing, one. And two, mentally, this dude went through hell before he go into a fight. So when these guys say, oh, you got to kill me before you beat me, it's kill or be killed. These guys meant what they said. Now, everybody focus on their knockout power. They can't see the vicious streak in them, the mean streak. They don't bring it out all the time in their fights. Like Floyd outbox you, but if you get Floyd angry and you see the mean streak in him, you see him you see his face kind of smirk up. He got a mean streak in him, but he don't let it out because he got so much skill. But Andre Ward, on the other hand, you see the dog in him, the mean streak in him, if you need to. What impressed the strength and conditioning coach for Marcos Maidana when Maidana faced Floyd Mayweather the first time? And this strength and conditioning coach, he was impressed. He watched Floyd, who was outweighed. Okay, this dude was outweighed by, I think he came into the fight 146. 146. Marcos Maidana was 165. So he was outweighed by 21 pounds. And he going toe to toe with Marcos Maidana, trading hard shots, making Marcos Maidana back off. When I forgot what his name is. You guys know who I'm talking about. When he saw that, he was so impressed that he said, "No, man, I gotta see this guy." And he would give him little tips and strength and conditioning, because y'all don't understand. You don't understand. There are certain fighters. It's not their will to win now. It's just that they are beasts. They're beasts mentally. You're touching them mentally. That's what I see in Mikey Garcia. That's what I see in Mikey Garcia. I'm not saying Errol Spence don't have it, but Errol Spence has been leaning on his power too long. See, that's the problem. When you have power in a boxing fight, it can be your Achilles heel, because you may be relying too much on that power instead of your boxing skill. And boxing and strengthening your mind, not just trying to be a physical bully and just beat down people, but strengthening your mind for when that power will not help you. What are you going to rely on? And I guarantee you, Mikey Garcia going to take away Errol Spence's trump card, his left hand and his right hook. He's going to take it away from him. He's not going to be able to use, Errol Spence is not going to be able to use his right hand and left hook. What are you going to do now? What you going to do? If I take away your right hand, your left hook, and your jab, what you gonna do? Because I'm not gonna give you that opportunity to put you in the position to use those weapons. Why? Why would I do that? So Floyd Mayweather took away Oscar De La Hoya's left hook, took away his jab. Now you got to find something else to rely on. Now, really intelligent fighters, you could take away their jab, their right hand, their left hook. But really cerebral, intelligent beasts gonna find another way to get it done. They're gonna find another way to get it done. Real beasts, real killers, real guys in the trenches. The real. If you take away my preferred distance, I have to find a way to adapt to you, use what you do, and then turn it back on you. Can they do that? The real. See, real speak to real. Y'all don't know about y'all don't understand what I'm saying. They talk about making adjustments. I remember the first fight with Floyd versus Jose Luis Castillo. I remember also another fight where Floyd hurt his hand against Carlos Hernandez. I remember also the fight between Carlos Baldomir, where Floyd just could not use the jab against Baldomir. He was too awkward. He kept on rolling through, sliding and rolling through past the jab and getting to the inside. That's why Zav Judah got beat by Baldomir, because Baldomir, huge guy, lumbering guy, but he rolled. The way how he moved, he rolls. He rolls as he moves. He rolls as he throws punches. And he roll under your jab and gets past your jab into you. Floyd said, he too awkward, man. I can't use the jab. So he started using combos. And he started using his left hook. He would left hook him and roll under him. Because Baldomir is a lumbering kind of guy, so he moved in a kind of roll fashion. Yo, look, go study the fights, man. Go watch the fights. So what do? He can't do certain trademark moves he wants to do. He can't really do his pull counter. So what he gonna do? He gotta adjust. When he hurt his hand against Carlos Hernandez, he had to fight with his left hand. Both hands was damaged. And he boxed him around the ring. Every punch would hurt because he hurt his hands. He still won the fight. See, that's when you are... See, y'all gotta understand, Floyd didn't just become Mayweather just like that and cruise against guys. He went through his baptism of hell, right? I remember when not only did he hurt his hand, I remember the time when he you know, y'all need to go watch the DeMarcus Corley fight. Floyd was banging with DeMarcus Corley, caught him with a beautiful left hook, right? And he stuck out his tongue and he hook him with another left hook. You know what I'm saying? You know, and there's a lot of fights that Floyd fought where it was a training ground for what he would. He was pretty much Floyd back in the day. So back to the point with boxing and politics. Politics focus a lot on what people want them to focus on: the viciousness of a fighter, the knockouts, the power of a fighter, the length and range and reach, and that this guy can knock out people. And a lot of times they don't focus on the mental attributes of the fighter. Was Thomas Hearns mental? Yeah, he had all the killer instinct and everything, but was he really truly a beast? Was he really mentally strong? Well, we know he wasn't mentally strong. Why? Because when he faced Sugar Ray Leonard, Leonard was showing his tenacity, got to him, touched that chin now. He touched that chin, Hearns got punch drunk, and then Leonard started beating his ass, right? And all I'm saying is, Hearns was mentally strong to be able to, despite his chin, had that mental toughness to make that adjustment on Leonard so he could do something else, right? Hearns only knew okay, I need to box him. And he was still misjudging the distance because Leonard would come in with a leaping left hook or overhand right and tap that chin again. And Hearns would be punch drunk again, right? Now, Leonard, on the other hand, he had a will to win, all right? Not only did he have a win to win, but he was tough. He was mentally tough. Not as tough as Floyd. I don't think he was as tough as Floyd mentally, because Floyd's a different kind of beast. Because Floyd don't just depend on his skill. Floyd is, you know, you just look at him. Physically, you can see how strong he is, how tough he is. And then mentally, he tried to get in your head. He's more like a Roberto Duran meets Sugar Ray Leonard. You take Roberto Duran, you smash him into Sugar Ray Leonard, you really got it. Because Sugar Ray Leonard tried to be a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? He had a mean streak, but he was a nice guy. Floyd is not going to be nice with you. Floyd is going to use every single thing he can think of to beat you down. He wants every inch, every little squeeze, every little inch of advantage over you. Floyd don't play like that. See, and that's the difference between Floyd. I tell you, he's a beast, and Leonard. Leonard was too nice a guy. He was too nice. You know, he had a mean streak in the ring, but he was a nice guy outside. Floyd ain't nice at all. You're my enemy. I tag you as my enemy. I'm coming for you. That's why Duran was able to beat Leonard the first time. Duran pulled all Leonard's strings and beat him. Right? Leonard could have won that fight easy. Right? Duran got in his head. Floyd will get in your head. You're not getting in Floyd's head. Floyd will get in your head. You see? When I talk about beast, we talk about this is a war. You know, them guys ain't coming to say kumbaya and kiss and make up. You're going to fight somebody. They're not your friend, right? You're looking for every single advantage you can get over them, right? Andre Ward is not exactly like that either. He's a top of the line kind of guy. He more like Leonard. He's not as extreme as Floyd is. Floyd, shit. Floyd would train in a manner. In fact, when he was younger, he was worse. He would train and really get beat up. He'd go into sparring. Sometimes he'd get beat up in sparring, but when I say beat up in sparring, he still beat the opponent, but he'd beat up in sparring, blood all over the place and stuff. It'd be nasty. But at the end of the day, you know, he took some punishment too, in preparation for fight. As he got older, he realized, man, I gotta rest my body and that kind of shit. You know? So, you know, man, y'all don't understand what y'all had in Mayweather. Y'all don't understand. He not that same guy no more. He's not that guy no more. But that dude, man, that dude was a beast. Okay. So anyway, Andre Ward, Leonard, the beast. Okay, it wasn't just about skills and the mental attribute of these guys was they was willing to go till they died, and even if they died, if they go to hell, they're gonna fight in hell still. You have to understand, nothing was keeping them. They really are fighters, and that's what people when they see Floyd beat guys real easy, because he prepared like crazy, man. He prepared like crazy, and Floyd would spar all the way through the year. Ask anybody, he's sparring all the time. You know, Leonard and they would have a camp, and then they would, you know, fuck that. Floyd would spar all through the year. He stayed ready. Now we see guys like Sean Porter doing that, and we see other fighters doing that, right? But Floyd, like physically, he stayed in shape all the time, right? He didn't use no performance enhancers. His body was a temple. You know what I'm saying? So, like you guys don't understand the sacrifice and the difficulty of even being on the level Floyd was at. You know, so when I hear people say political things like, "Oh, Thomas Hearns would have knocked out Floyd," nobody's ever knocked out Floyd, jackass. So how could you say that he would knock out Floyd? You know, it's the stupid things that I hear. You know, I'm not saying that he might have knocked out Floyd. It's possible. He had the power to do it, but he had a fucking puncher's chance, man. Come on now. For anybody who have half a brain, he had a puncher's chance, man. Come on. All right? Nobody's ever knocked out Floyd, and he fought killers, right? And no one's knocked him out. So how you can come now and say Thomas Hearns, oh, he's a freak of nature? But who cares if he's a freak of nature? It doesn't matter. You're dealing with a guy who can handle that. He got the skills to handle that. On top of that, he got a vicious mindset, man. He work. He put in that work. And you gonna tell me a Chinny Hearns, who you hit him about the body, he'd hurt him? You telling me that dude would have beat Floyd? The Hearns at welterweight you talking about? That freak? Did you see what Floyd did to Diego Corrales, man? Did you see what he did to Diego Corrales? I mean, come on now. The man hasn't lost a fight in his life, but all of a sudden this dude gonna beat him. Like really. Like seriously. Y'all so want to see Floyd lose that y'all gonna call a guy in history who he'll never face. Because you know that, like punks, you're gonna say, oh, he would have knocked out Floyd. Because you're a punk. Because you wanna denigrate Floyd down to a level. Because you know how good he is. Or because you don't like him, you're still using his name, by the way. Right? You keep his name out of your mouth. If you so don't like him, keep his name out of your mouth. Like, you know, GGG would ride. I remember Pacquiao used to ride Floyd's name. I remember GGG would ride Andre Ward's name. And the media would go with that. Because Andre Ward's boring. You know, he's a dirty fighter. And all kinds of bullshit. Went in, took out Sergey Kovalev the first time. Yeah, Kovalev knocked him down, but he took him out the first time. And y'all was like, nah, Kovalev beat him. Well, if Kovalev beat him, he'll beat him again. Easier, right? That didn't happen. What happened? Floyd stopped his ass. Not Floyd, sorry. Andre Ward stopped his ass. Too much fucking politics, man. Y'all be playing politics with the sport. And you playing on these casual fans' minds. Because casual fans think boxing's all about strength and brute force and power. And bullshit like that. Speed. That's not what boxing's based on, man. It's a sweet fucking science, man. Sorry about the F-bombs. But it pisses me off that people time and time again say the same shit. I had to hear the same shit over and over again. It pisses me off, man. Right? And to hear knowledgeable people talk that nonsense and they know better. Well, I remember it's like even Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields pisses me off. Because she always trying to be a weight bully. She tried to bully her opponents around. Right? I saw her face an opponent that was outboxing her ass. And they still gave the fight to Clarissa Shields. In fact, the opponent knocked her ass down. I forgot what her name is. It's a pretty woman. A cutie. She could box. She kicked my ass. Yeah. I thought she beat Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields tried to bully her, weight bully her, you know, come through the punches and just throw a host of the wild shit. And it pissed me off. And I remember Andre Ward turning around and he was trying to tell Clarissa, you can't just be always, you know, just one track trying to beat down people. You got to use your skill. You got to use your... In women's boxing, right? I try to look for the most skilled women boxers because a lot of those fights, I honestly am not interested in Rock'em Sock'em Rollers. Maybe other people are. I don't like it. I don't like it. I hit you, you hit me, we just gonna scrap it. That's bullshit, man. I'm tired of seeing scrapping. I want to see some skill, right? And a lot of these women do have skill. They just decide, oh, we want to put on an exciting fight, and they just abandon skill and they start pummeling each other. And I'm like, what the fuck? So but I know one or two who don't just scrap. They box. Yeah. So the politics of boxing, I noticed, you know, we can talk more about, you know, the discrimination of fighters, especially black fighters, how they're treated. I don't know what it is. You gotta have like apparently the lighter your skin, the more people will favor you. So the Pacquiao Mayweather thing was a racist thing that was going on, and it really pissed me off because Pacquiao's a nice, decent dude, and he just, I don't know, he played straight into the narrative, man. Race baiting, man, I hate that. But you know, you look at the politics of boxing, and the one thing that really pisses me off is when people start to go into the physicality. So you hear this fucked up phrase that I hate so much now, in their prime, in their physical prime. That is the dumbest ass. Look, man, I can't tell you how stupid that statement is, and it's something that people they literally harp on all the time, and they don't understand that boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. And usually a fighter actually gets better the older they get because they learn more and they have more experience. And it's the irony, especially in this modern day with all the sports science that we have, the irony of the situation is they're going to say that Canelo keeps getting better and better, and Canelo's in his fucking prime, right? Canelo's getting better and better. It pisses me off because what are you saying then? He's in his prime. How come he's getting better? So when he's out of his prime, he gonna keep on getting better. Why? Because he's getting more experience. He's getting more catalog of fights. Right? Floyd was way out of his prime a long time ago. Alright? When Floyd was 34, 35, he was way out of his prime. And he went all the way up to 37, I think it was. And that's when he really started fighting those big fights in that 5-year period. And what's amazing to me is that he wasn't in his prime, facing guys who were in their prime. Manny Pacquiao. He got the bigger fights. He's known for some big fights. But he got the bigger fights, the big money fights, outside of his prime. Right? Jersey Joe Walker became heavyweight champion of the world when he wasn't in his prime. Do I need to go on and on? I could go forever on and on. Alright? About how fighters who are not in their prime actually performed better. Because you have early bloomers, you have late bloomers, and you have those who bloom at the usual time, right? And Mika Cotto became middleweight champion of the world outside of his prime. Sugar Ray Robinson became 3-time world champion at middleweight when he wasn't in his prime. I could go on and on and on about fighters who were not in their prime who did some remarkable things. Muhammad Ali. Well, I think he was still in his prime. Yeah. He didn't last too long. But my point being anyway, that I hate that statement in their physical prime. I understand what they mean. It means they're the peak physical fitness. But I think that's just highly overrated. Just like Mike Tyson's a highly overrated dude. Right? So, I think that people sometimes emphasize on certain things which don't necessarily they're not necessarily true. Of course, if a fighter has gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grueling matches in their career, right? Obviously that will affect them physically. It might even affect them mentally, right? We see what happened to Jermaine Taylor. But at the same time, so that when you take too much punishment, that's always going to happen. You get a slurred speech and everything, right? But what I'm saying is that barring that physical damage to the fighter, mental and physical damage to their brain and their body and stuff, and the motor reflexes in the nervous system, barring that, you can't say that these fighters, oh, he's aged overnight in a fight. No, he just didn't look as good, right? And it's not that the fighter's aged. It may be the style that is matching up with, and the expectation of the audience for the fighter to get through this guy easily. It's those kinds of things. So, having talked to you guys about the fact that, politically speaking, people focus on the physical attributes of the fighter and less on the mental attributes. And when they say mental attributes, they're usually thinking about the willpower of the fighter and not their intelligence. Bivol says, Joe Smith uses his strength, but I use my intelligence. Bivol is a world champion right now. Porter says, ignoring perception, sees dangerous fight against Ugas. Yeah, you better see a dangerous fight against Ugas. Because you saw how ripped Ugas was. Yeah, this. Man, PBC be matching up these guys. They're putting up some good fights, good matchups. Yeah, Porter's in for a fight. He's in for a fight because Ugas looks in shape. So Porter not going to be able to just impose his strength and bully Ugas. Ugas looks like he's very, very strong. He reminds me of Kell Brook's strength. So Ugas is ready for Porter. So we're going to see tonight what that fight will look like. That's physical attributes. You also have to think about intelligence. the way how Porter fights this fight, the way how his game plan is, may determine if he may be able to get past Ugas. What Ugas' game plan is will determine if Ugas will get past Porter. This is the part of boxing that intrigues me the most. It's not so much the physical aspect of boxing, it's the strategy, it's the tactics. And that in and of itself is also a political structure of boxing. It also plays into the politics of boxing. We're getting right back to women's boxing because yesterday was International Women's Day. So, women's boxing is not highlighted as much as men's boxing, right? And unfortunately, the pool of high-performing women in women's boxing is much less than in men's boxing. But there's some outstanding women boxers out there, man, and I just want to see them showcased. I really, honestly, don't really like no cat fight or scrap out or just bang out. I hate that shit. So, you know, if you're gonna box, you know what I'm saying? It's boxing. It's not scrap it. It's not strongman contest. It's not I hit you, you hit me, tit for tat. That bullshit I don't like. Okay, but if you're boxing, you're actually doing something like you look like you're boxing inside that ring. I really like it. Amanda Serrano is one of those people I think who's doing well. I can't remember all of them. I know Katie Taylor is also another one. I hope Katie Taylor not scrapping, but she's boxing. There was another one I saw from Puerto Rico, and she boxed too. Sometimes she scrapped, but most of the time she boxed. There are a couple of them. But basically I'm saying is that, you know, Sean Porter was talking also about his interest in fighting everybody. He was like, you know what, man, I'm going to take Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, and Keith Thurman. And I was laughing about that because it's like, dude, just focus on the guy in front of you. You didn't make weight. You almost didn't make weight. So just focus on the guy in front of you. And talking about him, you know what's another thing? I'm going to pay attention to Maurice Hooker versus that Trinidadian dude. I'm going to pay attention to that because he didn't make weight either. Right? So I'm curious now to see how these fights will turn out, because I'm thinking the matchmakers for these PBC events, they're really, it seems as though the opponents, the underdogs are always motivated, which leads me back to what I said about Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson and a possible upset. These fights don't look, you know, I made a prediction about, you know, the favorites, but these fights don't look as imbalanced as they seem. So we're gonna see on Fight Night how these contenders, you know, how they show up and what they do. Okay, because sometimes it seems as though you pull somebody from obscurity. That happened with Danny Jacobs and Dmitry Pirog. He just pulled. He was a last-minute replacement. He just pulled from obscurity, and Pirog became world champion, right? So let's just pay attention to these matchups because you just never know, man. And you know the most dangerous guys actually are the guys that nobody really know about, and they just show up. You saw Christian Hammer, what he did with Luis King Kong Ortiz. We saw what happened with the Argentinian fighter Brian Castaño versus Erislandy Lara. So don't blink, folks. Keep your eyes on these contenders. Whoever's doing the matchmaking, they know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And you're getting some pretty exciting fights. So we'll see what's up. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. You guys have a good one.